The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Everybody, welcome to my show, Debi Changes Lives. I'm Debi, a certified holistic health coach. I revitalize people's lives by helping them identify the root cause of their health issues, and I create a custom holistic strategy to address them. That includes mind, body, and soul. Now, as a certified holistic health coach, I'm not allowed to say that I treat, cure, prevent, or even diagnose any diseases, but I can certainly help you have an efficient body and reduce symptoms. I am thrilled today to have Compound Pharmacist Ben Fuchs as my guest, and he is a dynamic speaker who talks about health and fitness. He has several radio shows that he's done called The Bright Side, and also does shows for Critical Health News, one with my friend Becca Kolzak. I am honored that I'm going to be doing an in-person event with him on November 11th at 11 a.m. when he's going to start speaking about the Triangle of Health. And it's going to be in Huntington Beach, and tickets are available now. Ben's going to be unveiling the Triangle of Health with us today and talking a little bit about cancer as well. So Ben is going to be on shortly, and I'm going to ask him some questions. Ben, welcome to my show.
Well, it's an honor to be on your show, Deb, and thanks for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it. As a member of the public, I appreciate everybody who wants to help us all understand how our bodies work.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So I learned so much from you, Ben, that I love when you talk about the Triangle of Health in relationship to different health conditions. So, can you explain a little bit about the Triangle of Health?
Yes. It's actually the triangle of disease,
okay,
as opposed to the fourfold square of health. The triangle of disease refers to the 3 points of bodily breakdown that underlie chronic degenerative disease. There's two kinds of health challenges, two categories of health challenges that people deal with. One are acute health challenges, traumatic health challenges, infectious health challenges. And the second are chronic health challenges. Chronic meaning long-term. Acute health challenges, trauma, infections, presumably will heal. The body will recover from those. Chronic disease, which makes up about 80% of our healthcare costs in this country, probably around the world as well, or also known as chronic degenerative diseases. Some people call them non-communicable diseases. That means that you can't pass them on. These are diseases where the body breaks down over the course of time and does not recover. In ordinary circumstances, the body regenerates, it heals itself. In the case of what it's called chronic degenerative diseases, instead of the body healing, it degenerates. So all the things that you consider like autoimmune disease, cardiovascular diseases, neurological diseases, cancer, all of these are degenerative in the sense that they progressively get worse and the body doesn't recover. And this is the bulk of our healthcare challenges. All these diseases have one thing in common, and they're all lifestyle based. They're based in how the choices we make and how we live our lives. And what I discovered from talking to people, I'm a pharmacist, but I'm also a public speaker. I talk to people in the pharmacy setting, and I talk to large groups of people. And over the course of time, I've talked to thousands and thousands of people. Over the course of time, I realized there are these commonalities that all people have when they're suffering from a CDD, a chronic degenerative disease. And these commonalities form 3 points in the body. That's why I call it the triangle. And they develop sequentially. So everybody who has heart disease suffers from these 3 points, the bodily breakdown, cancer and autoimmunity and neurological problems, et cetera. All all the long-term chronic health challenges that we deal with in this country, all the patients have these 3 points of bodily breakdown, which, if they're addressed, will resolve the conditions that occur above. So that's kind of like the soil. The chronic degenerative diseases are like the fruits on a tree, and the triangle disease is the soil that underlies the fruits on the tree. You can't take care of rotten fruit by spraying the rotten fruit. You've got to take care of the next fruit that comes out by working on the soil level. This is the beauty of the triangle of disease. If you work on the triangle of disease, the fruit will take care of itself. The diseases will resolve themselves. Conversely, if you don't take care of the triangle of disease, you're not going to be able to address the fruit. You're not going to be able to address the neurological problems above. And this is what accounts for the failure, the utter and complete failure. I want to be very clear about this. The utter and complete failure of the modern medical model when it comes to treating chronic degenerative disease. Chronic degenerative diseases, which are lifestyle-based, cannot be treated by the medical model because it doesn't recognize that there's these 3 points of bodily breakdown that are underneath the cancer, underneath the heart disease, underneath the multiple sclerosis, underneath the lupus, underneath the Alzheimer's disease, underneath all of the problems that are above it. You follow what I'm saying? So the triangle of disease is important for 2 reasons. Number one, you can't treat the fruit unless you address the triangle of disease. Number two, if you address the triangle of disease, the fruit will take care of itself.
Exactly.
Okay. So what is the triangle of disease? The 3 points of bodily breakdown. The first point on the triangle of disease is the digestive system. The second point on the triangle of disease is the blood sugar system. And the third point on the triangle of disease, the top of the triangle, is what I call the adrenal thyroid complex. The adrenal glands are your body's stress glands. Your thyroid is the gland that is responsible for energizing all of the different cells of the body. So under the rulership of the control of thyroid hormone, which is made in the thyroid gland, muscle cells, muscle, heart cells, heart, skin cells, skin, immune cells, immune, stomach cells, stomach, intestinal cells, intestine. All the cells of the body do what they're supposed to do under the control of thyroid hormone. So if you're not producing enough thyroid hormone for whatever reason, if there's something wrong with the thyroid gland, all chronic diseases will ensue. The possibility of chronic diseases will ensue. In other words, hypothyroidism or poorly functioning thyroid is behind chronic degenerative disease. All of it. You don't need to get your thyroid tested. You can assume that you're hypothyroid if you have heart disease. You can assume that you're hypothyroid if you have Alzheimer's disease. You can assume that you're hypothyroid if you have Bell's palsy or any other chronic degenerative disease, because hypothyroidism is the jumping off point from the triangle of disease to all other health challenges. Okay, so far so good? I'm going to tell you how this all develops. Okay, and this is something I discovered by observing a lot of people, and then when I put the pieces together, I realized that there's no holes in this concept, in this theory. So the first thing that happens and it happens for many people in utero, in the womb, but certainly by the time we're for most people, especially people our age in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, by the time we leave the birth canal and come out into the world, we're beginning to suffer from intestinal breakdown, intestinal dysfunction. So in utero, in the womb, our bodies are developing. If the mother is under stress, or the mother is not getting the kind of food she should eat, or the mother is eating foods that are reactive, or for whatever reason, mother is nutritionally incompetent, the body will not form. The fetal body will not form effectively. When the baby is born and leaves the birth canal, what's supposed to happen is that baby is supposed to be coated with a coating of bacteria. Those bacteria will go through the baby's nose and through the baby's mouth and go through the baby's digestive tract and implant in the intestine. And from that period forward, those bacteria that live in the intestine, which come from the mother, are going to be that baby and then that kid and that a teenager and that adult's best health friends. Those bacteria, which we now recognize, and over the last 30 years, we've really started to understand this. Before that, we didn't really understand how important these bacteria were. These bacteria, which are technically called the microbiome, and they live largely in the intestine, but they're found throughout the body, in the eyes even, in the lungs, and on the skin. But largely in the intestine, those bacteria process food for the baby. They make vitamins for the baby. They provide genetic material for the baby. They communicate to the intestine tell the baby what's going on at the intestinal level. They're responsible for all kinds of they play all kinds of health roles for the body. But if when the baby doesn't come out, when the baby comes out of the birth canal, if that bacterial coating does not occur as it should, immediately the baby's going to be compromised. So if the mother doesn't have her bacteria, she doesn't have a competent microbiome on her own, that's going to compromise the baby. If the baby is born cesarean section, some 30% of babies are born cesarean section, that baby's not going to get that bacterial coating. And then once that bacteria implant, the bacteria are supposed to proliferate, and the intestinal structure is supposed to mature under the control of breast milk. Well, we know many babies are not breastfed, or if they are breastfed, they're not breastfed long enough. Or if they're breastfed, they may not be breastfed from mothers who are nutritionally competent themselves, or they may be breastfed from mothers who have issues with allergens themselves that they're passing through in the baby. So many babies are born cesarean. Many babies are born from moms who don't have their microbiome, a competent microbiome themselves. Many babies are born without or post-birth, or not getting enough breast milk, or not getting the right kind of breast milk for a lot of reasons. Within a day of birth, the baby is immediately begin compromised. Within 1 day of birth, for many babies, the baby is immediately compromised at the level of the intestine. And this is what counts for food allergies in babies. Then you throw in baby food, and you throw in formula, and you throw in all these things that can wreak havoc on the baby's digestive system, specifically on the intestine. By the time the baby is now months old, a year old, the baby starts to become colicky, cranky, right? Because he's got these digestive problems. Colicky, by the way, comes from the word colon. So even in the word colic, we hear the word colon, which implies a digestive problem. Also, a lot of babies have baby eczema, or baby runny noses, or ear infections, or sometimes babies have heartburn. When I was working in the pharmacy, I would dispense Zantac, which is an acid medicine to babies. They literally have baby Zantac. I mean, infant, not baby, infant Zantac and infant Tagamet. So many of these babies and these infants are suffering from digestive problems within a day of being born, let alone as the weeks and the months proceed. So by the time the baby's now 1 or 2 years old, this baby has got many babies have some serious digestive health issues. Many babies, especially, as I said, when we were kids, because we didn't even know what the microbiome was when we were born. People were giving, when we were babies, moms were giving us formula because they thought that was better than breast milk. They were really told that formula was better than breast milk. And around the world, in some countries, they're still told that formula is better than breast milk. So immediately, and then proceeding as the months and as the weeks and the months and even the years go by, the baby begins to have digestive compromise. When the baby has digestive compromise, all kinds of things can go wrong. For one thing, what can happen is the baby will not process energy correctly. Obviously, energy comes from food. If the baby is not digesting or processing food correctly, energy is not going to be processed correctly. The baby will get cranky. When the baby is cranky because it's low energy, what do we tend to give the baby? Apple juice, prune juice, or a pear juice, bananas, baby food, very rich sugary food. Sometimes they'll even give kids popsicles. And if the mother is not sophisticated enough, she may give them really blatant sugar-rich foods. Even sophisticated moms may think apple juice is sophisticated, and the baby's happy for a little bit because now the baby has a source of energy, sugar being a source of energy. But something very interesting happens when sugar gets into the body. Insulin comes out to pull the sugar out of the blood because sugar is very explosive stuff. So the hormone system, the insulin hormone system, pulls sugar out of the blood. When sugar gets pulled out of the blood, of course, the baby is now low blood sugar, so the baby's cranky again. So we give the baby more sugar. The insulin pulls the sugar out of the blood. The baby's cranky again. We give it more sugar. The insulin pulls. This thing goes on and on and on. I call it the high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster. And so now you've got a baby. He's probably a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. He's getting all kinds of sugar because he's cranky. He's got emotional issues. He's got digestive health issues. Over the course of time, as the sugar is not being handled correctly, when sugar gets pulled out of the blood, it gets stored in fat cells. And now you have a problem with obesity. And we have a big problem with childhood obesity in this country. And this is all secondary. 90%. It's ridiculous, right? Childhood obesity, not just overweight, but obesity. And this is all following this breakdown at the level of the digestive system and the blood sugar system, which begins in utero, but for many people, and many babies in utero, and for a lot of babies within a day or two after they're born. Now, when the blood sugar system goes up and down, this high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster, eventually the adrenal glands will get involved. The adrenal glands are your body's stress management glands, and both low blood sugar and high blood sugar represent stresses to the body. And so the stress hormone cortisol will kick in. Stress hormone cortisol can help us out in the short run, but when it's chronically secreted, eventually the thyroid will start to slow down. Remember, the adrenal glands give you emergency energy, and the thyroid gives you regular energy. So as a compensation for this chronic secretion of cortisol, eventually the thyroid starts to slow down. And behind many cases, if not most cases, if not all cases of hypothyroidism, you have hyperadrenalism or hypercortisolemia, too much cortisol, hyperadrenal. And that's when the thyroid starts to slow down. Once the thyroid slows down, you are off to the chronic disease races. And these 3 points underneath the triangle, or the 3 points of the triangle of disease, are underneath all chronic degenerative diseases. Break down at the level of the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and then the adrenal thyroid complex. From that point, you have all your health challenges. The good news, as I said, is if you work with the digestive system and the blood sugar system and the adrenal thyroid complex, and even really just the blood sugar system and the digestive system, everything will fall into place. On the other hand, if you don't work with the digestive system and the blood sugar system and the adrenal thyroid complex, nothing will fall into place. No matter how many drugs you take, no matter how many doctor's offices you go to, no matter how many hospital visits you take or you have, nothing will fall into place. And this is what accounts for the failure of the medical model. Now, let me add one more thing. The thyroid regulates the digestive system. Okay? So once you're hypothyroid, that disturbs the digestive function, which further disturbs the blood sugar system, which further disturbs the adrenal thyroid complex, which further disturbs the digestive system, which further disturbs the blood sugar system, which further disturbs the adrenal thyroid complex, which goes back, and it becomes a big circle, right? And this is where most people are in their health. They have this circle of disturbances, of biochemical and biological disturbances that underlie their health challenges that nobody is addressing. So if you want to get healthy, you have to address the triangle. And if you want to simplify it, work on your digestive system first. The blood sugar system will follow, and then the adrenal thyroid complex will follow as well. So if you don't want to work on all 3 points of the triangle of disease, which we should, work on the blood sugar system and the digestive system, or work on the digestive system and then the blood sugar system.
Yeah,
so
I highly recommend.
That's the triangle of disease, and you can apply it to anything you want. So if you want to help somebody as a health coach, and they come to you with heart disease, for example, work on the intestine, the digestive system, work on the blood sugar system. You don't even have to address the adrenal thyroid complex if you only want to work on the first 2 points, because that will tend to fall into place as well. But you could work on those points as well. Now, the thyroid, you can't do anything on its own. Hypothyroidism cannot be addressed on its own. If you go to the doctor, you'll get Synthroid, or you'll get a Cytomel or levothyroxine. You'll get a thyroid hormone, but you can't work on the gland itself. Hypothyroidism cannot be treated. What they can do is they can give you the hormone, but they can't treat the hypothyroidism because that follows digestive disturbances, blood sugar disturbances, and adrenal disturbances. So hypothyroidism cannot be treated because that's the tip of the triangle, and it's dependent on the 3 points underneath it, the adrenal glands and the blood sugar system and the digestive system. So you can't really work on the thyroid, but you can work on the digestive system, you can work on the blood sugar system, and you can calm the body down at the level of the adrenal glands. Those are the 3 points that you want to work on if you're dealing with any health challenge. And the good news is that once you start working on those 3 points, all your symptoms will start to subside. All your other symptoms will start to subside. Now, your heart has been you have had heart pathology for decades, or you've had an autoimmune disease for decades, it's not going to immediately disappear, but it will begin to resolve immediately. And this is the great news about healing. The body begins to heal immediately. Do you know between cigarettes, your lungs start to heal? As soon as you stop smoking, between cigarettes, between meals, your intestine starts to heal. Between inputs of sugar, your blood sugar system starts to resolve itself. Now, most people don't give it enough time to completely resolve, but this is the great gift of the human body. As soon as you make corrections, the body itself will begin to stabilize.
That's amazing.
Now, it may take a while, depending on how progressed you are, for you to notice anything profound or dramatic, but the healing process can begin immediately.
Well, thank you. That was also amazing. Now, how does it relate to somebody that has cancer?
Well, you're starting with the most, there's chronic degenerative diseases. There's lots of them. There's thousands of different diagnoses that you can have, but cancer stands alone. It's unique in the sense that when you have cancer, a genetic switch has been switched. A genetic switch has been turned on. A genetic switch has been switched, basically. Okay. And a cell, and so let's talk really what cancer is. First of all, there's no such thing as cancer. Okay? There's no
necessarily genetic. It just got turned on like a light switch, right?
Like a light switch. Let me explain what I mean by that. And first of all, I want you to recognize there's no such thing as cancer. There's no such thing as, and let me rephrase that. There's no such thing as breast cancer. There's no such thing as bone cancer. There's no such thing as prostate cancer. There's no such thing as skin cancer. Okay? You're probably saying, oh, what the heck's he talking about, right? I know. I have friends who have breast cancer. My dad had prostate cancer, whatever. There's no such thing as breast cancer, but there is breast cell cancer. There is prostate cell cancer. There's bone cell cancer, skin cell cancer, liver cell cancer. Cancer is a cell phenomena. It's not an organ phenomena. It is a cell phenomena. And the reason the medical model can't do anything about cancer, and there's never going to be a cure for cancer, is because we're treating the organ but not the cell. In other words, there's nothing a doctor can do to a cell except for kill it or remove it or poison it or excise it or electrocute it or radiate it. But there's nothing the medical model can do to make a cell healthy. Let me say that again. All disease is cell disease, and cancer is a cellular health challenge, but there's nothing in the doctor's magical bag of tricks that can make a cell healthy. Do you see a problem here? All we can do is remove cells and kill cells and electrocute cells and radiate cells. We can't make a cell healthy from a medical perspective. But that doesn't matter, you see, because a cell doesn't need the doctor. A cell doesn't need the medical model. Yeah, it's true. A doctor can only poison a cell or remove a cell or radiate a cell or electrocute a cell. But the cell doesn't need the medical model because all a cell needs is three things. A cell needs food, it needs oxygen, and it needs a clean place to do its business. That's it. And the only thing that can go wrong with a cell is starvation, suffocation, and toxification. That's it. So whether you're talking about diabetes or cancer or autoimmune disease, or whether you're talking about heart disease or any other health challenge, you're dealing with a cellular, pathological cellular system that is the end result of a cell that has not been fed, that has been suffocated, and that has been swimming in an ocean of toxicity for its life. Now, under ordinary circumstances, when that happens, a cell will die. Okay? Now, that's actually a good thing. Cells will actually commit suicide, or there are actually biochemical mechanisms that will kill the cell or remove the cell when a cell is dysfunctional because it's been starving and suffocating and toxic. So dead cells dysfunctional cells are either commit suicide, that's called apoptosis, or they're cleansed out in a process called autophagy. Exactly. However, every once in a while, a cell will sneak through and it won't commit suicide and it won't get removed, autophagized, excised, taken out by the immune system. Instead, what will happen is the cell will start to operate in a very primitive fashion. Let me just take a quick digression and tell you there's two types of cells. There's two categories of cells. There's hundreds of types of cells, but there's two categories. One category are advanced cells. Another category are primitive cells. Primitive cells were on Earth, came on Earth 3.5 billion years ago. And then over the course of time, they became advanced. And today, advanced cells are in the body, or in animal bodies and human bodies. Our cells are advanced cells. Plant cells are advanced cells. The technical name for an advanced cell is a eukaryote. Karyote means cell, Karyot. EU is the Greek prefix for good. So you have eukaryote is a good cell, meaning an advanced cell, versus a prokaryote. Pro means primitive. So a prokaryote is a primitive cell, and a eukaryote is an advanced cell. Advanced cells can utilize oxygen. And by utilizing oxygen, they can get a lot more energy. By utilizing oxygen, they can get much, much more energy than cells that can't utilize oxygen. Cells that can't utilize oxygen can only utilize sugar. And prokaryotes are primitive cells, and they can only utilize sugar. And because they can only utilize sugar, they can't do all the things that a eukaryote can do. They don't make internal structures like a eukaryote. They don't have an organized genetic system like eukaryotes. And most importantly, they don't form organs like eukaryotes. Eukaryotes can form livers, and can form bones, and can form brains, and can form hearts, and can form eyes. They're advanced. They can do some advanced things. Prokaryotes can't do that. Prokaryotes can only form slime. The classic prokaryote is bacteria. You never said bacteria don't make organs. Bacteria just make slime. A eukaryote is very advanced. It's got all kinds of advanced organelles inside of them. It's got compartments inside of them. It's got a nucleus in the middle that has genetics all organized and tight. It's a very, very complicated structure. A prokaryote is a very simplified structure. It can't do a lot of stuff. It can only get energy from sugar. That, by the way, that process is called fermentation, where it gets energy from sugar. A prokaryote is a fermenter. A eukaryote is a very advanced cell that can oxidize. It can get energy from the combination of oxygen and fats and sugars, and this gives it a much more advanced ability to energize itself, which allows it to do many more things. So what's this got to do with cancer? Well, a cancer cell is operating like a prokaryote. A cancer cell is more like a bacterial cell than it is like an animal cell, like a human cell. A cancer cell doesn't make a liver. A cancer cell doesn't make a bone. A cancer cell doesn't make eyes. All it does is divide, because it doesn't have the same kind of energizing ability. It doesn't have the same kind of structure that a eukaryote has. It's a primitive cell. So when a cell has been starved and suffocated and toxic, it becomes dysfunctional, and eventually it will get killed off, or it will commit suicide. But every once in a while, instead of committing suicide or getting cleansed out, it actually becomes like a prokaryote. It goes back in time. And instead of being an advanced cell, it will turn into a bacterial cell. And instead of being able to form organs and structures, all it does is divide. It's almost as if your cells are saying, look, you've been starving me and suffocating me and making me swim in poison. I am sick of this baloney. You know what? I'm not going to be a liver. I'm not going to be a bone. I'm just going to go about and divide. I'm just going to go about my own business. It's like it doesn't know what else to do. It's at its wit's end. A cancer cell is a cell that has been poisoned and suffocated and toxified for so long, it doesn't know what else to do. Its last resort is to switch its genetics so it's more like a prokaryote than a eukaryote. You follow what I'm saying here? So, yeah. So a cancer cell is a cell that is at its wit's end. It doesn't know what else to do because it has not been fed, it has not been breathed, and it has not been allowed to clean. It has been allowed to have a clean environment for its whole life. It's just given up. And now it's just going backwards in time and operating like a bacteria and just dividing and dividing and dividing. You follow me? So
yeah, they're going to the dark side in a way. Yeah,
it's going to the dark side in a way, but it's almost like a sociopathic cell. You know, we have sociopaths in our culture, but most sociopaths have not been nurtured. They didn't have parenting. They didn't have good parents. They weren't parented correctly, or they weren't fed correctly. They weren't somehow treated correctly, so they become criminals. And they say, you know what? Screw you, society. I'm not going to participate in society. I'm just going to become a sociopath. And I don't care about anybody else anymore. A sociopath doesn't care about anybody, only cares about itself. And a cancer cell is like that. It's a sociopathic cell. It's a cell that doesn't know what else to do. So it's now operating like a sociopath. So to answer your question, to the triangle of disease is the same thing. The cancer is the end result of starvation from lack of nourishment from the digestive system, sugar from too much sugar. Sugar is a toxin for a cell, and also sugar represents a accelerant for cells, and the combination of toxicity plus acceleration can lead to carcinogenesis. And over the course of time, as cortisol, stress hormone, is secreted and the thyroid slows down, eventually the cell doesn't get what it needs. So the triangle of disease underlies cancer, but the difference between cancer and other diseases is a switch has been turned in cancer.
Okay.
You don't have that same. That's why it's it stands alone in the pantheon of chronic degenerative diseases. Cancer stands alone because it involves a genetic switch. Now, that being said, if somebody, God forbid, has a diagnosis of cancer, meaning they have cancer cells have become carcinogenic, are now dividing out of control, which is basically what that means, you can still address the cancer by working at the triangle of disease. And I always tell this to my cancer patients. If people come to me who have cancer, don't worry about curing your cancer. That's not the goal. The goal is for you to feel better. The goal is for you to feel stronger. The goal is for you to have more energy. Who cares if you cure the cancer, but you feel terrible and you feel lousy and you have no energy and you can't do anything? That's not the point of medical treatment, or that's not the point of health treatment. The point of health treatment is to feel healthier, to feel stronger. Don't worry about the diagnosis. If you work on your intestinal health, work on your digestive health, work on your intestine, that is the bacteria in the intestine. I don't know if we'll have a chance to talk about SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, but bacteria, I didn't really go into this when we talked about the breakdown at the level of the digestive system, but one thing that happens is bacteria proliferate in the small intestine. Bacterial proliferation in the small intestine is really what causes this leap into the beginnings of the triangle of disease. Once bacteria proliferate in the small intestine, you get inflammation, you get leaks in the intestinal lining, things start to enter into the bloodstream. You get the production of various chemicals by these bacteria, including molecules like histamine, which cause inflammatory factors. So work on the small intestine. And this is everybody, whether you have cancer or heart disease or Alzheimer's disease or whatever it is you have, work on the small intestine. Control the bacteria in the small intestine. There's lots of strategies for doing that. Then you start to stabilize the blood sugar. You can do the ketogenic diet. You can do the paleo diet. You go low carb. You can go low calorie. There's all kinds of ways that you can work on the blood sugar system. And then you work on the adrenal system. You calm the body down. You calm the body down by not putting accelerants into the system. That is chemicals that accelerate metabolism, specifically sugar, into the system. Meditation, slow, deep breathing, exercise. All of these are wonderful ways to calm the adrenal glands down. The thyroid will then respond on its own, and then you will start to feel better. Whether or not your cancer is cured, you will feel better. No matter what your health challenges is, if you work on these 3 points, the intestine, the small intestine, the digestive system, and when I say the small intestine, upstream counts, the stomach, it plays a very important role in intestinal health. The liver and the pancreas play very important roles in the intestinal health. So when I talk about working on intestinal health or digestive health, that implies the stomach and the pancreas and the liver as well. Even the mouth, even chewing food plays an important role on intestinal health, on small intestinal health. Work on the blood sugar system, stabilize the blood sugar system, stay off of sugar as best as you can, use sugar metabolizing nutrients, eat more fiber, drink more water, ingest less calories, etc. Calm the body down at the level of the adrenal glands, relaxation strategies, getting enough sleep, making sure you're breathing correctly, meditation, plugging into spirituality, mental and emotional health strategies, all of these things to calm the adrenal glands, you will feel better. Guaranteed. 100%. I'm not 99.9. 100% guarantee you will feel better if you address these 3 points of triangle disease. Whether or not the cancer is cured, I can't say, but I can say you will feel better. And by the way, cancer remits. I have a textbook of case histories of cancer remissions. It's called Spontaneous Remissions from Cancer. It's a textbook with case histories of spontaneous remissions from cancer. They call them spontaneous, but really they were probably doing other things in order to get these cancers to remit. So curing the cancer is not the goal. Feeling better is.
Exactly.
And that's what you want to focus on.
Yeah. And I know that with me, I did the ketogenic diet and released 70 pounds. And I'm coming up to my 10th anniversary in November. And it gave me so much more energy.
Exactly.
Made me feel better.
Exactly.
So, you really need to look at what you're eating, reduce the carbs and sugars. And, meditation will get people through a lot of
Absolutely.
events.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be, spiritual or Buddhist or Hindu or anything like that. It could be just turning within. We have an interior being, but we focus on the outside world. We very rarely turn our attention inward to see how our mind is working, to see how our inner perception is functioning. We're always focused on the outside world. Meditation is turning within, seeing where your reactions are coming from. Instead of reacting to the external world, seeing what the reaction machinery is functioning like. In other words, we have reaction machinery, and we always blame the outside world. We never look at the reaction machinery. We have reaction machinery that's located in the mind. And what meditation does is allows you to turn within and watch your reaction machinery. And once you start to understand your reaction machinery, once you understand that you can befriend your reaction machinery, that will control the way you react to all the external events in the world. And that's where we want to get to. We don't want to be reacting to external events. We want to be focusing on the reaction machinery so we can control it from the inside. We can't control what's on the outside. That's going to always be there, right? But we can control our reaction machinery. What meditation does is it allows you to become familiar with your reaction machinery.
Exactly, because it just lets you release emotions. And also, with just the breathing alone, you're circulating your blood, which also helps the lymph too, right?
Absolutely. I said all disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. Dirty blood becomes dirty through the digestive system, through the leaky gut. Dirty blood also becomes dirty through sugar. Sugar represents a form of dirt for the blood. Sugar is very sticky and burns things. In fact, diabetics will have to get their blood checked. They don't even think about it, but diabetics will get their blood checked to see how fast the sugar is damaging their blood. They call it a hemoglobin A1C test. Have you heard of the hemoglobin A1C test? Yeah. The hemoglobin A1C test is a test to see how damaged your blood is from the sugar. So sugar damages the blood. Foods damage the blood, the wrong kinds of foods, toxins from foods, leaky things that enter into the bloodstream through a leaky gut. Mm-hmm. Also, when you're secreting lots of stress hormone, your blood vessels will constrict. Mm-hmm. And the blood vessels will constrict to increase the pressure. This is one of the ways the body handles stresses, is it increases pressure to force more blood to the various organs. But that high blood pressure constricts the blood. It makes the blood move even more stagnant. So by constriction. So between the triangle of disease, you have the main causes of dirty blood. So taking care of the triangle of disease will also improve dirty blood. Now, once the blood becomes dirty, oxygen is not delivered correctly, nutrients are not delivered correctly, and toxins tend to build up. And this is where this triangle of disease starts to really accelerate. Once the triangle of disease accelerates, the blood becomes dirtier, and you end up with this vicious downward spiral. One of the most important things you could do to improve the flow of blood is breathe, like you said. Breathing propels the blood, forces the blood. In fact, your diaphragm is almost like a second heart. Your diaphragm is a muscle that's in the center of your body, and when you breathe deeply, the diaphragm goes up and down. It goes down as you're inhaling, it goes up as you're exhaling, and this pumping action helps propel the blood. So deep breathing, slow deep breathing, breathing exercises are an amazing way to help propel the blood through the system, and it also is a great way to vasodilate. Oxygen is a vasodilator. Oxygen improves the movement of blood through the vessels. So oxygenation is one of the most important things you could do to improve blood circulation. If you have hypertension, or if you have cardiovascular disease, or you're dealing with any kind of blood clot issues, oxygenation is one of the most important things you can do. So you see,
Exactly.
you see all these ways that we have, whether you remember everything we talked about, because we talked about a lot of things, that's secondary. What you really want to take home here is we have so many ways that we can improve our health that have nothing to do with the medical model, which at the end of the day can't improve our health anyway, with the exception of maybe stitching you back up if you get into a car accident, or getting rid of bacteria if you have some kind of bacterial infection. Other than that, there's nothing the medical model can do for diabetes. There's no drugs that will get rid of your diabetes. There's no drugs that will get rid of your autoimmune diseases. There's no drugs that will get rid of your dementias or your neurological health challenges. There's no drugs for that. There's no doctor protocols for that. None. Zippo. Nada. But all of the things we talked about will do it. You will improve all of the markers of health by taking care of your digestive system, taking care of your blood sugar system, calming the body down, making sure you're oxygenating correctly, making sure you're using nutritional supplements, making sure you're meditating, making sure you're exercising. These are all things we can do ourselves. And my message is we can be our own health authorities.
Exactly. And a good, clean, toxic-free diet is important too.
Yes. So, and you know what one of the most important strategies for a good, clean, or a good, healthy diet is? Eating less calories.
Yes.
Calories are not your friend. Eating is for children. When you're an adult and you're an older person, you don't need to eat anywhere near as much. We eat so much more ingest so much more calories than we need to.
Exactly.
Calorie. What does the word calorie mean? What is a calorie anyway?
It's
calorie.
a unit of burning.
Heat. Correct. Calor is Spanish for heat, right? Mm-hmm. So calories, heat. What happens to your iPhone when you leave it on your car seat in the summertime in California? It turns off.
Yeah,
right?
My battery dies.
No, it turns off. Yeah. Why do you think they put a little fan in your computer or a little fan in your engine? Mm-hmm. Because machinery doesn't like to run hot. Well, the body doesn't like to run hot either. That's why the less calories you ingest, the longer you will live. Every study that's ever been done on longevity shows calorie restriction is the only guaranteed way to increase longevity. Calorie restriction will help you feel better. Calorie restriction, no matter what your health challenge is, will reduce inflammation. We didn't talk about inflammation, but inflammation is the body's response to damage or attack. Calorie restriction is one of the fastest ways to reduce inflammation in the body. When you eat lettuce, when you eat even the most benign and gentle of foods, your immune system awakens after you eat anything. Because think about it, you put something in your body, the immune system is your defense system, and your defense system becomes alert once something gets into the body.
So engine in a way, yeah.
The less you eat, the longer you live. So one of the most important strategies you can do if you want to just feel better right away is intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Or even just simple calorie restriction, just restricting your calories to 1,000 calories a day or 1,200 calories a day. Most people eat 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories a day. All you need is 1,200 or 1,000. And you'll be fine. If those calories, especially, you want those calories to be nutrient dense, to have a lot of nutrition. That's why vegetables are so important. There's so many things we could do, Deb. So many things we could do. So many tools we have at our disposal that have nothing to do with the medical model, that are strictly lifestyle strategies that will allow us to be our own health authorities. And that's what it should be all about.
Yeah, because your body's an amazing machine and can do a lot for you.
Absolutely.
And I am so excited about our event on November 11th. And Ben's going to start speaking about this topic again, and we'll answer your questions too. At 11 a.m., you can start speaking. The doors open at 10 a.m. It's in Huntington Beach, California. And tickets are available now. You just go to that link that's kind of scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You'll meet Ben in person. And I am so excited about this event. Thank you for everything you've talked about today. And because people are going to learn so much just how their body works.
Thank you, Deb. Thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you. So right now, I got to say that if you want to reach me, you can reach me at my link, which is https www.debichangeslives.com. Linktree, and there you can set up a free private consultation to talk to me about how you can improve your health, diet, products. I do mindset and emotional coaching as well. And I'm very much into audio work, as well as, binaurals and things like that, as well as, mindset training for you guys to get you on a better road to health. Now, if you want tickets, you already have that link for the tickets, and you're more than happy to ask me questions. If you want more information about this radio show, just sign up for my newsletter, and I'll send out all the information about my radio show weekly, so you know who's going to come on next as my guest. So, Ben, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Great to see you. I look forward to seeing you on
November 11th.
November 11th at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. 10. Yes, I hope to see everybody out there. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Remember that your holistic journey starts with me, with Debi Changes Lives. Thank you. Bye-bye.